Always ready. We'll let a few people in our Zoom room. Here they come. Great. All right. Well, welcome to the regular meeting of the Larkspur City Council on Wednesday, February 5th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. And we are meeting in the council chambers, and we have one of our council members who is meeting remotely tonight. Anything you want to add to that?
Yes, Councilmember Andre is attending remotely under the amendments to the Brown Act that were enacted by AB 2449. For this exception, the council doesn't need to take any action, but as a reminder, Councilmember Andre, you will need to report whether or not there is anyone over the age of 18 in the room with you prior to any votes, and all votes will need to be by roll call.
Okay, great. Well, let's do a roll call, Allison.
Andre?
She's here. I can see her face.
Stephanie, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Stephanie?
Oh, yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Councilmember Candell?
I'm here.
Councilmember Margulies?
Here.
Councilmember Paulson?
Here.
Mayor Way?
Yes, here. Please stand if you can, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Item number 2 is public comment. This is an opportunity for the public in the chambers and online to address the city council for matters that are not on tonight's agenda. Do I have anyone, and remember with public comments, since it's not been on the agenda, we cannot have a lengthy discussion about the item, but we can refer it for a future agenda's item. Anyone in the audience would like to come forward and address the council on a matter not on the agenda? And please tell us your name for the record and welcome.
My name is Chuck Jones. I live on Magnolia Avenue, about 2 blocks from here. I'm here today to ask the town council for protection. Protection for myself and my family, protection for my neighbors, protection for the kids who live in the neighborhood, protection for the children whose parents bring them to the schools nearby. I've brought this matter up with the council before. The traffic on the 100 block of Magnolia Avenue is so bad frequently that one of my neighbors called it the most dangerous street in Larkspur. Since I was here last, and I can only bring up items from the last month, my neighbor who lives next to the church had his nanny taking his daughter out in the car, got hit by a car coming towards downtown. That car was a hit and run. It disappeared. Fortunately, the nanny and the child were okay. The neighbor down the hill from that saw a sideswipe accident of a car going up, making the turn across from Piedmont, sliding into a car over there. It's kind of a blind corner from both directions. I saw a car not slowing down during the morning school rush at the corner of Magnolia and Baltimore. And the kid who was riding her bike across the street not only had to screech to a stop, but had to turn her front wheel so that the car would not hit her bike. And the car just kept on going. And finally, another neighbor was driving up the hill during the morning rush hour, and somebody was turning left into Alexander, and there was a lot of traffic, and he had to make a real quick turn to get between 2 cars, and he almost hit a pedestrian, a woman who had to jump out of the way. And this so shocked my neighbor that she told me she burst into tears as she was sitting in her car. So when I brought this up before, I've been told that there was going to be a study done. If we don't talk about it today, I'm going to ask to put it on the agenda for next meeting. But it seems to me we're wasting time when there is danger to people, to pets, and to property out there. And my solution is to have 4 stop signs put in, 2 at Baltimore and 2 at Alexander. Easy. And cars would have to stop there, and it would just slow things down on that section of Magnolia immediately.
Thank you. So we have started a traffic Magnolia corridor traffic study, and I will ask for an update on that in one of our next meetings. But I will refer you to the first public workshop, which is going to be Wednesday, February 12th. We're beginning that process. This should be coming in the mail.
Is that directed specifically at this or at any item?
It's
that you want to
the study is a comprehensive study, and the Magnolia corridor is part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a due date?
I'm not sure,
Okay.
but I'll inquire. But we have initiated a process about it.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else with public comment? In the audience? Anyone online with their hand up?
Looking for any raised hands from our Zoom audience members. And there's no public comment.
Thank you. And Shannon, just to clarify, this is being mailed because it was here at the dais. It's being mailed to all residents.
Discuss a little bit, can everyone hear me?
Okay,
I'll discuss a little bit more at the city manager's
Okay.
oral report. It was a targeted mailing, so it was not a citywide mailing.
okay. All right, thank you. We're on to number 3, presentations, and we have none. Number 4 is the consent calendar. We have 6 items on the consent calendar. Would any council member like to pull an item from the consent calendar for discussion? No? Would anyone in the audience in the chambers like to pull something off the consent calendar? No? How about online? No? Okay, then I'll take a motion to pass the consent calendar.
I will make a motion to pass the consent calendar.
I can second the second the motion.
Thank you. So we have motion and second, and we'll do a roll call since we have a council member on remote.
Councilmember Candell,
Yes.
Councilmember Margulies,
Yes.
Councilmember Paulson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Andre,
Yes.
Mayor Way.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, just to comply with the regulations, Councilmember Andre, could you let us know if there's anyone over 18 in the room with you at that vote?
There is no one over 18 here with me.
Thank you.
Blessings for you. Feel better. Terrific. All right, that brings us to 5. And tonight, we have the privilege of having Assistant City Manager Shannon O'Hare here representing the city staff as our city manager is out of town at a conference. So, Ms. O'Hare.
Good evening, Mayor Way, members of the city council and the community. Shannon O'Hare, I'm the assistant city manager, and I'm filling in for city manager Dan Schwartz tonight. He's on city business at the League of California City Managers Department meeting in Southern California. So I have a brief oral report this evening for you. There's 3 items. The first one is what was alluded to earlier. The city is holding a workshop on Wednesday, February 12th at City Hall. Interested members of the community can join us for a public workshop. We are discussing traffic and mobility concerns on the north segment of Magnolia Avenue. This is from Doherty Drive to the northerly city limit on Woodland Road. Residents and businesses along the corridor received the mailer that Mayor Way mentioned earlier from the city last week. The card includes a link to an online survey to collect information. This information is also on our website. It's going out in our newsletter for other folks who are interested. This will be the first workshop and survey, and it's aimed at collecting data from the community to help us and consultants identify issues of concern. Following that information, a second workshop will be held later this year to share improvement concepts, and that'll be next steps.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. on February 12th. In City Hall. And then also mark your calendars later in the month, going February 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. Consultants and from our design and planning firm, Page and Turnbull, is going to lead the community in a public workshop about renovating City Hall, how we're going to do that while preserving its historic character. So join us at any time from 6 to 8 p.m. If you can't make it right at 6 on the dot, it's going to be an open house kind of public workshop concept. So if you want to join us at 7 or later, folks will be happy and available to chat with you. It'll provide as a foundation for future public workshops and discussions regarding City Hall. And if your schedule does not permit to show up at this meeting, the staff contact for that is Public Works Director Julian Skinner. And I do want to note that we are at the beginning of this project and this process, and this is going to be one of what will be many meetings and discussion items in front of the council and the community. So we're at the very beginning. And then the last item I have this evening is that we have received a number of comments from the community, some in written public comment that's included in the agenda packet, asking about permitting off-leash dogs at Piper Parks and other parks in Larkspur. You can also save the date tentatively for the March 5th City Council meeting. It'll be at our regular time or around our regular time here in council chambers to bring that up as a discussion item and formally agendize that and talk about that issue. And with that, that's the conclusion of my oral report.
And that also can help to reference the public comment that came in earlier. It's now posted online on our agendas with questions about expanding off-leash dogs in certain parks. And so that will be an opportunity for that conversation then. So
And there have been some conversations
with Park and Rec.
with the Parks and Recreation Commission. So the March 5th meeting is slated to be a joint meeting of the City Council and the Parks and Recreation Commission. So it'll be a good opportunity for us all to talk about it.
Dogs, fences, and trees. That's a lot of issues. Are there any questions from the council members of Assistant City Manager and her report? Okay, Stephanie, any question? Okay, thank you. That will go to council members' reports, please. Is there any council members who have any reports or comments? Vice Mayor Andre, I'll start with you. Any reports or comments? No?
None,
I
thank
hate
you.
to put, no, all right. Sarah, any reports? Okay.
No.
Gabe?
Sure, just briefly, I wanted to mention the Transportation Authority of Marin Thursday meeting in January had a really good, robust discussion about e-bikes. So I know that's come up here, and there's quite a lot of legislation. And one thing that is happening through the county is they have a special committee on youth e-bike safety. And they're working on the issue that, our chief of police has mentioned this, and generally, we're trying to get a framework, we're trying to get a plan. There've been various attempts, working with the schools and trying to, deal with the manufacturers. But hopefully we can get a draft ordinance, something that would be adopted. So, for example, you can be in Mill Valley and go through 3 different, unincorporated Mill Valley and Sausalito in a stretch of a few hundred yards. And, how do you enforce that? So to really have a countywide, unified messaging, educational thing. So this continues, and I just bring it up because it was a very hot topic. We had a council meeting, and these issues don't go to bed even if they're not on the dais. So just as a reminder, I'll keep you posted, and I'm very eager to see and work with with the county and the special committee to see how we can help Larkspur. Thank you. Oh, and I guess one other thing is on the issue of traffic, it was brought up in public comment. That's something that, I really want to bring forward because it's all over there. Members of Greenbrae who voice similar concerns to Magnolia. There are, different streets all over the county that have these same issues, and, really interagency partnership, because our police services are very, spread thin and looking for solutions. So I will be at that workshop, and I really look forward to seeing what we can learn here and to bring that to the county. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that'll be important because we try to craft solutions, but we have to follow California Vehicle Code, and we have to follow the laws of California that are set up for transportation laws, for stop sign laws, for speed bump laws. All of those actually come out of state law for vehicle code. So we have to fit in what works for our community under the rubric of what the law is from California too. I've learned a lot of that in these years. Scott, anything?
Nothing today.
I have a few things. I'm going to continue at every meeting to say the same thing at the very beginning, which is everyone needs to sign up for alertmarin.org. I'm going to repeat and repeat and repeat that. It's a very important emergency messaging that we will all need to be aware of. Alertmarin.org is where evacuation warnings and evacuation orders will come from. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends. And then the second thing I'll always bring up probably at every meeting this year is readymarin.org is your go-to place for all hazards emergency preparedness information in our county, in Marin County. So really important that we just keep reiterating that, because our our numbers are good for signups in Larkspur, but they're not as good as they could be. And I think every emergency and disaster that happens within this state, we all need to know how to be prepared for that. Second is the ballot. Remember when we voted on a community service tax for the Larkspur Marina? And they, to create, a tax on the residents there, self-imposed tax to do the bulkhead replacement. Those ballots are in the mail now for that neighborhood. So if you have any friends or anybody listening who lives in the Larkspur Marina neighborhood, those ballots are due this month for, or I believe early March, because that's the timeline we helped them put together to repair the bulkheads in their neighborhood. The last thing about fire, because I serve on several fire boards and commissions, is Fire Safe Marin and the Marin Wildfire Protection Agency is hosting Wildfire Watch, which is going to be the LA Fires Lessons for Marin. And this is online, and it is Monday, February 10th from 6 to 7 on Zoom. And that information is available on Fire Safe Marin's website. But this is going to be our regional local fire managers, Mark Brown, Jason Weber, and Office of Emergency Management. They're hosting this to really start to share early lessons learned about the massive fires that LA has experienced in the last month. So it's very early for long-term learning of what can happen, but this is our opportunity to initially learn what lessons we can take from those disasters to bring to Marin. So I'll post that for people to see. And then lastly, although it's been lousy weather the last week, the construction is progressing on our new library and community center. So I'd love everybody to keep walking by Doherty and Rose Lane and see how it's going. And in March, we're going to have a great announcement from the Commons Foundation, who has been the primary fundraiser for this event, at our March 19th meeting here. So please come. And also walk by and cheer on the construction staff to keep them going and building on this project. And I'm really thrilled to say that we're going to start to see a lot more happening there as the weather improves. All right, let's move on to public hearings. Tonight we have none, so we are on to business items. 8.1 is the creation of a climate action forum and appointing a council liaison to the climate action forum. This is a matter we've been discussing for several meetings, and we've come to some great ideas. So would we have a staff report, please?
Yes, we do. And Assistant City Manager Shannon O'Hare will be providing the staff report to the council and the community this evening. So I don't have a PowerPoint prepared. I'm going to provide a very brief staff report this evening, just covering at a high level where our discussion has taken us up to this point. And then there's two main things that staff has asked the council to consider this evening. One is to adopt a resolution that creates the Climate Action Forum that was based on previous direction from the council. And then the second is, should the council decide to adopt the resolution that the council considers appointing the council liaison to the Climate Action Forum. And we can start work on things. If it's okay with the mayor and with the council, let's talk about the resolution first, because it might help inform the second part of the discussion. And again, please feel free to interrupt me at any point with any questions. We'll save, we have some members of the public at the moment in the council chambers, and we might have some folks online.
Yeah.
Let's hold those questions so folks can come up to the dais and talk all at once, so we're not going back and forth.
And before you start this, the updated resolution, it's online. Are there any copies in the room for people who are not online?
There should be.
There should be.
In the back of the council
Okay.
chambers where we have other materials related to the agenda, if folks would like a hard.
Okay, so we've made some changes from the resolution that was posted a little earlier. And they're all in the redlined, if anybody's interested in that.
So
Thank you.
what brings us here this evening is the Larkspur City Council has identified climate action and environmental sustainability efforts as one of the top priorities of the city council. We initially started this conversation in earnest at the October 16th, 2024 meeting of the city council. And at that time, staff brought the item before the council for consideration and explored the potential formation of an advisory body dedicated to climate and the environment. Out of that meeting, council directed staff to come back and continue the discussion on potential approaches to engage the community in climate items and action, as well as provide an update on where the city is in terms of the progress on the 2030 climate action plan, which we did at the last meeting on January 15th. I won't reiterate everything that we covered in that meeting. I know a lot of folks in the room with us tonight were at that meeting, but for any members of the community who may be viewing this meeting and are interested and have not had a chance to look at the January 15th meeting and are interested in the topic, I encourage them to watch that city council meeting. In addition to the staff presentation that provided an update on the climate action plan progress, there were also presentations by the Marin Climate and Energy Partnership on the regional work we do and how we approach things, as well as an update from Marin Clean Energy on their services and programs. So after receiving that presentation, we took up further the discussion on the potential formation of a climate action advisory body. Staff presented the council with 3 options. One was a standing committee or a commission of citizens. The second was regular staff updates and a public workshop model. And the third one was the creation of a climate action forum that would meet regularly to discuss progress on the city's climate action plan and other relevant sustainability and environmental issues. This model closely mirrors what the city of San Rafael currently does and has done for a decade plus, where a staff person and a designated council liaison create an agenda and meetings, as well as attend the meetings to receive community input on climate items before bringing any actionable items or progress back to the city council for consideration. Which brings us to tonight. So we have 2 components. The first one, at that meeting, the council opted to go for the climate action forum model. So if we're going to have a climate action forum, we should say what it does, that we're creating it, and begin to move forward. There were a number of requested changes to the resolution, 2 from council members, and they are available again at the dais, in the back for members of the community, and online, that accept all of these track changes and reflect them. Staff is willing to accept all of these. I think they were good edits and reflect some of the priorities of the council, as well as sentiments that were reflected that evening that weren't in the initial resolution. And then I do want to draw attention to, at the end of the resolution, we've added a section for staff support. Both in public comment and conversations with council, there was a desire to fully reflect the importance of staff dedicated to the Climate Action Forum, also participating in the Marin Climate and Energy Partnership as a staff member. One of the things for folks, again, who weren't attending that meeting is the Marin Climate and Energy Partnership is a meeting of regional staff from each city and town, as well as the county of Marin. And that is a working staff meeting that is not open to the public, that elected members of the community don't attend. So it's a separate group with a separate purpose, but it really closely informs what you do in your climate action plan. And certainly if you're engaging the community, it's good to know what's going on at both, so one hand isn't, not talking to the other. There's been shall language that's been requested. Staff hasn't gone quite that far and has softened it, and the language we've proposed says that it's the preference and intention of the city council that whenever possible, the city manager designate the staff person is the same person assigned. We're not trying to be cute with that language. We're just trying to provide some flexibility. We anticipate that it will be the same person assigned. City Manager Dan Schwartz likes to bring up, what is our continuity of operations plan if I get hit by a bus? I'm more positive, and I'm not going to speak ill of public transportation during a climate item. So I'll say it's going to be me for now. What if I win the lottery and we have a staff vacancy? And I can dedicate all my time to climate nonprofits and giving money away. So it would just be able to provide some flexibility where if we ever decide to have a sustainability coordinator and share it with a neighboring jurisdiction and there's a lapse in time, that we'd have the coverage to where if it's not the same person, we can keep things going without being in violation of a resolution or without having to bring a resolution to the city council to amend. And with that, that concludes my portion of the staff report, talking about the resolution itself. I'm happy to entertain any questions from the council or community.
First question, sorry, is I don't have a copy, the red line version. I don't want to take your copy. Is there an extra copy somewhere?
Allison will grab you one.
Thank you, Allison.
Or is it underneath your? Oh, here it is.
Never
I
mind.
found one.
Got it.
Okay, so, we'll start asking questions, but thank you for that report. I really appreciate how the emails from public comment that we received and the discussion you've had with other council members, we've been able to add some refinement to the resolution that we didn't do before. I think it's important that the staff support level was in there because that was really very important from community comment. And I understand that resolutions have to have flexibility in them, else we lock ourselves in legally to a particular pattern. So this it expresses our interest as a council to have that continuity in having the staff person who is also involved on a countywide level, but doesn't lock us in there in case things change. So just to clarify that for everyone, are there any questions of the staff and the assistant city manager's report on this matter? Sarah, do you have something?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So, in the fifth recital, I think it is, Shannon, whereas the climate action forum will meet regularly. I thought we had discussed bi-monthly.
So we had discussed bi-monthly, and the language, if you'll notice, some places also enumerate instead of there's the every other month language at some points in this. Again, the regularly is just to provide the flexibility to where if there's a summer recess and we don't meet in August or we don't meet in December, that we don't enumerate things in a resolution.
I see. Okay.
Can I piggyback on that? So I understand that in the fifth paragraph, but it seems there are other places where it specifically says we'll convene every other month. Do we want that to be consistent? And they all say regularly so that we're not in violation if we don't meet because of a vacation or something like that. And I'm looking at the last paragraph on the first page where it says every other month. I'm looking at
That's the updates to council. So that has the every other month or at a frequency determined by council. It was expressed in public comment that it was important to enumerate that it would also regularly be reported back
Right.
at council. So we just included the every other month language as well as regularly.
Okay.
Whereas when we discussed the climate action forum, initially, certainly it'll be every other month. In terms of providing flexibility for the council and the community, if the forum in particular evolves over time, it provides some flexibility if there's 2 months in a row or if it's.
Okay,
Right.
perfect.
Scott,
Thank
did you
you.
want to say something? I think, was
No.
Sky? No, okay.
And Sarah, I'm sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to
No
say something.
problem.
Sarah, what was your second one?
The second one was just going to the staff support amended version. And, I can't reiterate how important I feel that it is, and members of the community have also expressed this, that the staff member is the same person that is representing Larkspur on the MCEP. So I would consider making an adjustment to that language, which had it reading that the partnership in supporting the region and the city, there's a missing 2 there, achieve its cap and other sustainability goals. City council directs the city manager designate a staff member to serve as both the city of Larkspur representative to MCP and to staff the climate action forum. I'm not sure I understand the hit by a bus or winning the lottery example, because, things happen in the world, right? You could go on maternity leave. I mean, I can't imagine that a resolution holds us so strictly to the word that we don't have flexibility to make changes if there are staff resources, bandwidth, or somebody leaves on health leave or otherwise. So I just would like to
Yeah, so,
understand that.
yeah, so maybe Sky can kind of give a little primer on how resolutions are written when it involves staff roles.
So one thing that I think is important to keep in mind is that ultimately the city council appoints the city manager, and the city manager is responsible for the appointment and responsibilities of all of the other staff. I think that if the council expresses a strong preference that it be the same person, that Dan would absolutely make every effort to do that. If this resolution says we, the city council, are directing the city manager to do that, and he determines that for staff, for operational reasons, he does not think that there's capacity to do that, he needs to assign people to do other things. He will have really no choice but to come back to council and ask you to amend the resolution, because he's going to tell you that he doesn't believe that operationally he can accommodate that as the city manager, and he wants to, and I think part of the desire to change the wording in this way was to avoid a situation in which there's that conflict created in which he believes that he needs to assign staff to other duties, and that decision is in conflict with an adopted city council policy.
Thank you for the explanation, Sky.
Vice Mayor Andre, you have your hand raised? Oh, get your sound on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Sure.
Great. So I hear that, Sky. But how do we make sure that the function isn't bifurcated? I mean, the city manager can appoint whoever this person is, but in my opinion, I think it's very important that the person who sits on MCEP is also the person who is the staff liaison to the Climate Action Forum. I don't think we should bifurcate those two roles. And if there is an operational reason for that, because there's not enough bandwidth for staff resources, then I think we need to have that conversation with the city manager. But I feel that there's going to be a lot of inefficiency if we bifurcate those roles, because the MCEP meetings aren't public. It's very hard for someone to get just briefings on what's going on without actually being there. And I think, just for the success of both the forum and also the staff member who is assigned to this, I got to imagine that staff member would like to be part of the MCEP conversations, just so they can better execute their assignment, their job. So how do we write it so that, it's stronger than just a preference for, for that we try not to bifurcate the roles.
I think what we do is not only do we have a council member liaison who will serve on this committee and will be keeping track of those things and reporting back to us, but that's what our oversight role is on these kind of matters. I'm worried that if we specify it, it minimizes flexibility for who may be the right role person to assume this role to be the most effective without having that flexibility. But Shannon, you wanted to weigh in on this?
It's just a policy decision by the council, so there's nothing legal. We can, if the council opts to include the shall language this evening, we can include the shall language. This was the recommendation of staff that it provides more flexibility. It'll just change, it'll change how we operate a little bit.
Yeah. Gabe, you wanted to weigh in on that? Or
Sure, go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to say that as written, I think it is very clear that the city council's preference is for it to be the same person.
yes.
And if the staff chooses not to have it be the same person, they're going to come to city council and talk about it and explain why. I think I think part of our job as city council is to trust our staff and to say, staff, this is what we want to do, and to believe they're going to do it unless there's really a good reason not to, in which case we can talk about it informally as opposed to having to revisit the resolution and have an amendment and a formal change. So I'm comfortable with it the way it's written, because I believe the staff hears our objective, and I have faith that they will do their best to fulfill that objective.
Gabe, you wanted to weigh in?
Yeah, so thank you. Just piggybacking off of Councilmember Candell, I mean, I think, we are a small staff, and I, have found many cases where, allowing, not micromanaging, not, really setting the policy has been valuable. On the other hand, on this particular issue, climate in general to me is one of the best examples of like, acting locally and thinking globally. And I don't believe Larkspur's impact is going to be nearly as great unless it's, tied in with the county or with, the whole MCEP group. And I'm wondering, I guess I have a question, Shannon, is, just pragmatically, how, I'm wondering why one would need to have that flexibility. So if you're designated for that role, about how much time is meeting, here with the Larkspur Public and about how much time is at MCEP. I'm assuming it's a few hours a month each, but could you, just let me know, just so I could get a sense of the staff loading and why this might be necessary to swap people around.
Yeah, so in terms of the climate forum. we
Yeah, I
don't
think your mic
know.
is not on. Yeah.
The climate forum, we don't know yet because we haven't started how long those meetings will be, right? But I would be shocked if they're 8 hours long and anyone wants to stay that long and chat. MCEP meets for their regular standing meetings, meets once a month, and it can be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. And that's the actual meeting that you're committed to. There can sometimes be special meetings and there's follow-up work for those meetings, as well as working with the consultant when Christina Rourke is the consultant for MCEP. So it's a very common model. I don't know what every city does exactly, but when we're creating our GHG inventories or other things related to the climate action plan, that there's additional time and follow-up work that's closely related to that assignment. So that's hours of actually, attending both meetings. I think in terms of flexibility and the hours, it also is a consideration of it's to be determined based on the community and the liaison who's assigned to this, but the climate action forums might be in the evenings. They might meet certain weeks, etc. That works for folks. MCEP meetings are during business hours. So there's also a timing issue that could play a part in a small staff if there's vacancy or there's attrition beyond hours worked and what the workload is.
Okay. And I mean, the only, kind of observation from what you said is, the meeting seemed like 3 hours. It's a lot. And I can imagine, even these greenhouse gas inventories, there's a lot of detail. And then the cadence is fairly spread out. So, keeping it in one person's head seems more effective to me, but I appreciate the need for flexibility. So thank you.
Okay, if there's no more council questions at this time, we can come back to us. I'd like to open it to public since this is a business item. Is there anyone in the public who'd like to give us some thoughts about this item? Come to the podium, please. Mr. Mahler, I see you're moving there fast. And you know how we do this. You introduce yourself and
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I've done this once or twice before.
I'd like to acknowledge that we do have a public comment from you. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
That was submitted and is available online for.
Oh, great. So I'm David Mahler. I live here in Larkspur and I lead up the Larkspur Climate Group, and several members of that group are here tonight. And I'd like to start first by expressing many thanks to the council and the staff for forming the Climate Action Forum. I think it's going to be a really good thing and be very helpful in achieving those objectives that have been set out. As you know, we submitted some written comments. Most of our comments are administrative in nature. We had a few things on the first page of the resolution. And I think still, every time I read recital 5, it's a little unclear whether that's speaking only about interaction between staff and the Climate Action Forum. That thing about receiving progress updates, that's the forum receiving updates, is that correct? And that thing about the every other month does appear in the revised version of that there. So there's that, it has both the terms regularly and every other month in there, just kind of pointed out. So it seems to me that recital 5 needs a little tuning. But clarification, is that only talking about reporting to the forum, or is it also talking about reporting to the council? It's just a little unclear as written. The other comments we had really were about this issue about getting MCEP mentioned in the resolution. Looks great. Thank you for doing that. That's a good add. This issue about having the same representative. One thought listening to the comments, and I really appreciate all the time that's being taken on that, because I think everyone, it sounds like, realizes ideally it would be the same person. You got all this activity going on at the county level, got activity going on at the community level. Obviously, it's most efficient, most effective to be linked up through staff. And so everyone's hearing the same stuff. So I think there's no question about that. It's just how to do it. And I would point out that the wording that's in here, and I'm just sort of listening to the various council members' thoughts on this, about it's the preference. I wonder about Councilmember Margoli's comment about sort of a combination of the two that would say the council directs city manager whenever possible, designate a single staff member to do both. So it would provide the flexibility of whenever possible. So if there's, a staff shortage or, a catastrophe or something, you would have that. But instead of leaving it kind of up to the city manager saying, well, we kind of prefer this, is saying, this is what we want to have happen, and having a little bit stronger statement there, but still having that in whenever possible. So it would be the exception that it wouldn't be that linkage, rather than leaving it open either other way. So that's about all I got. Again, thank you very much for taking this far. I think this is going to be a really good thing. And just one other comment on it. Climate Action Forum is a great name for this group. I think it really, it captures the concept that we're trying to achieve here of having that dialogue, a two-way dialogue that links all these things up. Thank you very much.
Okay. We're all into acronyms, in government. It's always got one thing or another. You need to get a logo now so that we can have a logo too. We're into those. Anyone else with public comment who are in the audience tonight? Okay. Anyone online, Allison, with public comment? Okay. So I'll close public comment. Thank you for that. And also recognize that we had some online public comment. Mr. Blauvelt sent something, and that is available for the public to read. And I'll bring it back to us. Is there anything in that public comment that you want some clarification on for anybody? No? Could you just reference the thought of adding to the comment for the staff support, adding to direct, or is that necessary for a resolution? If we express that it is our desire to have this collaboration between the county representative and this representative.
I would caution against including direct. I do understand how strong the opinion is of some members of council about this. One suggestion that I could make is one, to change preference to strong preference, and two, to acknowledge that at the time of the creation of the Climate Action Forum, that it is the same staff person who's filling both roles, and that if the city manager determines that for operational reasons, that position needs to be split, that he would provide a report to the city council
As to why.
as to why he's doing that. So that city council would have an opportunity to consider the reasoning and provide feedback.
Is that language you would add to staff support paragraph?
So if council is okay with the general concept of that, you could include that in the motion, and we could finalize the wording of it. Either we can work on the final wording of it right now, or we can take that general concept and work it into final wording after adoption.
That sounds like a good compromise and acknowledges that the community members and the council members who want to make sure that at all possibilities that there is the overlap between the MCEP representative and this representative, but allows us to maintain some flexibility and have the city council not be micromanaging the manager's employment decisions. Is that correct?
Yeah, so two things. So one, I've asked Sky to come up with some draft language right now, because we were talking a lot about the strength of language and the preciseness of language, so we can have something ready to go for consideration. Also, I would just like, I've heard a couple of voices, but just so we can reiterate, especially because we have folks joining us also on Zoom, that's the desire of the city council, that we would like to go that direction.
How do people feel about
If
that?
that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just to paraphrase, so what we have is the staff support clause and three changes. One is it is a strong preference instead of a preference. Two is the MCEP rep in the city, the MCP rep in the city of Larkspur rep initially be the same person. We set that out. And then if that has to be, changed and alternate, then the city manager provides a report and brings that to the city council for public, right? For public discussion. So those are the three changes in essence. Does that sound like?
Does that Does that sound like it's fits within a legal parameters?
And I think I maybe heard something different. We're in real time here. So instead of initially it was the desire at the time of the formation of the Climate Action Forum.
Yeah, because they're the
We don't have the
person.
initially language that we intend to just switch it up at some time. Staff, to be clear, staff does not foresee this change.
Right.
Um,
But I think what the sentiment has been is it's really important that the person with the knowledge on the countywide basis help the creation of this and really get it rolling and get it started because they come with most of the knowledge. And then eventually that may alternate as things, who knows what the county will do too, you know? You okay with that?
I'm fine.
Vice Mayor Andre, are you okay with that?
Yes, I think those are good changes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think with directions, seems like we have consensus on that. Thank you, everyone. And Sky, do you feel like you have the language okay?
Yeah, got it, you know.
You'll hammer it out. Okay. So at this point, we will close this matter and I guess it will come back to us with, not tonight, but at a different time to finalize.
Can do it right now.
I was gonna make the motion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Also another thing, Sky, if you need a few more moments, we could talk
Let's-
about if we're okay with the general concept of passing the resolution. We haven't changed our mind on the creation of a forum. We can discuss about the liaison assignment.
Got it.
And then bring the language back so that we can further discuss and we're just, that we're all on the same page.
Got it. Thank you. I will retract what I said about closing this item because we still have part two, which is to create the liaison. So the question by staff is now that we have reached a conclusion about starting a climate action forum and we're working on that resolution, fine tuning it. Now, part two is appointing a council member to be liaison with this committee. So do I have any council member who would like to express an opinion about that?
I mean, I would love to be the council liaison for the Climate Action Forum.
I will make a motion to appoint, sorry.
I do want to make one comment is that I would love to set up an alternate or some kind of sub liaison, somebody in the case that I may not be able to make a meeting that another council member can sit in on my behalf.
Okay, so hold on, Mr. Candell. I saw Vice Mayor Andre's hand go up a little faster. Go ahead.
I support the nomination of Councilmember Margulies to be the liaison to the Climate Action Forum. I think that's a great choice. And I think she'll do a fabulous job. And I'm happy to sit as second chair if she needs backup.
And I support the nomination as a backup of Councilmember Ross.
All right, great. Thank you. So it sounds like we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
And we'll have a roll call vote for our council member liaison to the new Climate Action Committee being Councilmember Margulies and an alternate being Vice Mayor Andre.
Councilmember Candell,
Yes.
Councilmember Margulies,
Yes.
Councilmember Paulson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Andre,
Yes.
no way.
Yes, thank you.
And
very
I'm
much.
sorry, for the record, Vice Mayor Andre, could you let us know if there's anyone over 18 in the room with you during that vote?
Suddenly the
no
Boy
one
Scouts.
else. Still no one else in the room right now with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's only doing that because that's California law and he's my resident lawyer here. Terrific. So that's part two we've resolved and
Okay, so I've got,
returning to part one.
all right, so I'll read the whole, I'll read not the entire thing, but
Just number 5.
well, 3 sentence, yeah, okay, I will read the staff support paragraph, actually, not the entire staff support paragraph, but there's 3 sentences, I've inserted new text into them in between 2 sentences. So I'll just read all 3, so they see if they make sense together. It is the strong, that's the additional preference of the city council, that whenever possible, the city manager designate a staff member to serve as both the city of Larkspur representative to MCEP and to staff the Climate Action Forum. At the time of creation of the Climate Action Forum, the same staff member serves as both the city representative to MCEP and staff to the Climate Action Forum. In the event that the city manager determines that for operational reasons, different staff members should serve in the 2 roles, the city manager shall provide a public report to the city council for the reasoning for the change and receive city council feedback. And then this is already in there. This approach will maximize the benefit and further the city's environmental goals by ensuring consistent and effective representation and coordination.
All right, thank you.
Well
And-
done, sir.
And I think that acknowledged a lot of our comment and our public comment and our own council member comments. And I also want everyone to rest assured that new committees like this are a work in progress. So if it comes along and realizes that there be a more efficient way of doing things or more needs to change how the system and how the process is set up, we're able to do that too. So it's one of the wonderful things about having this type of a committee is because it has a lot of flexibility to adapt as the membership and the knowledge grows, and we can continue to make enhancements to it as it goes along.
Before there's a motion, there's also the issue of whether the forum will meet regularly or every other month. It would just be helpful for us to have that resolved by council so that we can make sure that the text of the resolution reflects that consistently.
So I heard the assistant city manager say that the regularly was the reporting back to the city council of the progress of the committee and that the committee's meeting times were every other month. Am I incorrect on that?
It's the city attorney's opinion that's gone back and forth. The recommendation, opinion of city attorney carries a certain weight. It's the recommendation that as we're firming up this language, it might be beneficial for the council to decide whether you'd want the, I don't want to say vaguer, right, but the broader language of regularly.
Regularly?
Or to enumerate, to enumerate every other month
Well,
in the res.
I think maybe we could just take these, is council okay with the meetings of the forum being regular? And stated as regular.
My
Uh,
preference, oh, sorry.
ahead, go
Well, I was gonna say, my preference would be to be consistent and say every other month. Like it says on the meeting schedule at the bottom, that, we're gonna convene every other month.
Yeah, I would like every other month also, just because we got to get this up and running. And if that means everybody can get it on their calendar on a regular time frame, at least for this first year, as it's getting in its infancy to materialize into something that gets a work product, I think.
And just for the record, I would be the opposite, only because I think this is an independent group. If they want to meet every month, I think that's fine. If they want to meet, every Tuesday, they want to meet, whatever it is. I mean, this is a group we're empowering to move forward. I want to give them the autonomy to do that, but I'm not going to make us think about it if you guys feel strongly about it.
So how about at least every other month? That
I
gives
think
us.
the group,
Go on vacation. So, we can do that every other month or by a schedule determined by the city council. We can use this, that.
Okay, I
that
think, yeah,
language.
I think.
That'll give us.
okay.
I think we have a good framework going forward.
Yeah.
We can, if this group wants to meet, every other Tuesday, that's fine also, and we can make adaptations to it, but I just, if we get a regular schedule going, then we won't lose sight and it'll get pushed out further and further because of everyone's busy world that we live in. So if we can set up a regular pattern, at least it gets it started. Okay, so we're clear on this one. I'll close this business item then.
Well, do we need to vote on it?
Yeah, I'm prepared to move.
You do need to vote on it, just
Thank you, guys.
suggest that the motion include
We're a good team.
clarification that the meeting schedule will be every other month or by a schedule established by the city council. And that the resolution include the text that I read regarding the staffing, that's the staff report section of the resolution.
Okay, so would anybody like to move resolution 05-25 with the changes that were just articulated by the city
Sure,
attorney?
I'd love to do that. So I make a motion to pass or to move forward resolution 525 with the changes to staff support that were just described by our city attorney. I don't need to enumerate them, do I? Okay. And also to stipulate that the meeting schedule be every other month or as determined by the group at that cadence.
I will second that motion.
Shall we have a roll call?
Councilmember Kendall,
Yes.
Councilmember Margulies,
Yes.
Councilmember Paulson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Andre,
Yes.
Mayor Way.
Yes.
Sky, you want to do the
Councilmember
honors?
Andre.
Do you have anybody over 18?
No one over 18 still. Thank you. Just me.
We better call some people so get it more interesting over here for your location. Okay, thank you very much, everyone who has been been really educating all of us and the public, and I look forward to seeing how this is an opportunity to do even more. So, all right, that brings us to actually our last item tonight, but I'll give people a chance to exit stage left. Okay, that brings us to business item 8.2, which is appointment of Larkspur's representative to the Marin County Commission on Aging. We had 4 applicants that we interviewed a couple of weeks ago. And in the course since then, we our city clerk has sent around the Marin County Commission on Aging fact sheet and what their mission statement, description, and requirements are, which I hope will help you guide us in this conversation. So that was a full page of what the commission would really like to have as our representative. First of all, I'd like to thank the community members who raised their hand and stepped forward to represent Larkspur on this very important commission. We have had a representative for a number of years, and I'm looking forward to a new representative who may be interactive with us about our age-friendly plan that we're hoping to make really much more active in the year ahead. Like all these things, it's always really hard to choose one because we would really like to have everyone here, and I really appreciate people participating. I had a nice conversation with Councilmember Margulies over the earlier in the week about how, as a city council, it'd be great if we kept sort of a database of applicants, even though we might not choose them for a role. How I want to create a more formalized process where we can keep track of them and make sure that we reach out to them consistently for other opportunities that come along. And I thought that was a terrific suggestion because very often we lose sight of someone who may step away if they're not chosen to participate, but we really respect community who wants to participate. So all that being said, we had Lindsay, Ann Morrison. I can't pronounce Lindsay's last name. Alexovich, excuse me. Grace Hughes and Barry Fegan. And I would like to open it up to my council members to sort of tell me where you think the best direction at this point would be for us to choose.
I'll go first. I mean, when you said it's, the case that we have really good applicants, I would say, we say that every time, but this time I really mean it. I've not ever had such a hard decision, but it's really nice. I've been, following this issue. I attended a lot of the meetings for the aging, and I think this is an extremely important role. So first and foremost, I'm just thrilled that we have such great candidates. I think I won't say who right away, but I really do think that the aging issues that have been on my mind, and I think we've all discussed, are housing, especially the people who are fixed income, and it's a serious issue. Also medical, and I had the really pleasure of visiting a lot of the clinics here, and we have one in Greenbrae, and seeing how the medical system works, because we know that they're increasing ages, and as we age out, they're increasing issues. So someone who has a really strong grasp of that, and also a real connection to the county and other nonprofits in the county. So those were kind of my 3 criteria. And again, all for really great candidates. But I'll just leave it at that, and then maybe we come back. We'll have to nominate somebody or vote on somebody.
Any thoughts, Scott?
I thought everyone was fantastic. And everyone has different pros and cons. Everyone brings something else to the table, whether it's their experience, their perspective. if you want me to throw a name out as somebody who I'm probably leaning towards at this point, is that what we want to do, or do you want to?
Let's, before we do that, let's just make sure everybody has put their comments forward first. Stephanie, anything you want to add at this point? No? Okay. Sarah, anything you want to add at this point?
No, I just want to echo, Councilmember, Paulson. His remarks about really how outstanding to have 4 amazing candidates step up to want to participate. And it is really, I mean, this is my first time, and it's a really difficult choice because all of them, as is noted, have some strong pros and maybe some cons, but I see less cons, unfortunately. I wish there were more because it would make it an easier choice. And Catherine Mayor Way, you did mention our conversation, and the one thing that occurred to me was it would be nice to potentially have a shadow member, somebody who could step in case one of these aging, if we chose the appointee to the commission, it is, you know, it does recommend somebody 60 or above. That is one of the recommendations. So with the opportunity to have maybe somebody else shadow that person or participate alongside that person, I don't know if that's possible, but it just was a thought that I had because it would be great to have continuity if something again
Yeah.
happened.
The Commission on Aging's meetings are public meetings. I think, yeah, they're public meetings. So, I mean, it's a great way to learn about what's happening as far as aging issues and resources that are available, and they are public meetings. So that
Okay.
would be a good encouragement for anybody who's interested in learning more. Have you ever attended one? I haven't attended.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I went to most of them with Councilmember Carroll. I guess I'm just a clarification for Councilmember Margulies. So we do not formally have an alternate.
No, we don't
So-
formally.
So that's, I mean, I
Yeah.
think, you know, the kind of encouragement for everyone to stay involved is there, but the only formal way would be to say, this is the designate, this is the alternate like we have for
Yeah.
our own.
Yeah, they
commission.
don't
So-
have-
So I'm not sure we can really do.
Most
much
of the
with that.
county commissions don't have alternates, but it's always, I mean, it's always recommended that if people are interested in that subject matter, they attend and just watch what's happening.
I raised this only because it became an issue. I don't think it was in Marin County, but in another county where a city council formally appointed an alternate, but there was no alternate structure.
Yeah.
For the countywide board, and it became a little bit of an issue with the county that the council had done that because there wasn't a formal role for it. And I don't know for the Committee on Aging that there is a formal alternate role. So just to while I think you're correct, somebody could attend the meetings, of course, but the formal designation of an alternate might create an issue.
Yeah, I agree.
We don't know what the formal structure is.
Yeah, we don't want to create a situation where we don't have representation at all. So, but I like your point though. And I think that's something we should always encourage people who are interested in participating in any role is to go to some of the public meetings and see what the issues are, see who the people are, and get involved that way. It's a really important way of learning about how our local government works. So with all that being said, you said you wanted to put forward a name?
While I thought everybody was fantastic, I think Barry would probably be my first choice. But I am very flexible because, like I said, I didn't say anyone. I think everyone's going to do a great job. So I'll just throw that out there because he just felt like I don't know what the word for the skill is I'm looking for, if it's organizational or just operational. He just felt like he would be a
Yeah.
good choice. But again, leave open to any other opinions.
So I know all except for Lindsay, I know all the other 3 very well. So I've worked with Barry on the South Licio committee. You have too.
Mhm.
So I think between him and Grace, I've worked with Grace on committees for a long time.
She's also on the South Licio
I
committee.
know. But I think to Councilmember Paulson's point, Grace also comes with a lot of experience with a lot of the nonprofits that serve the aging population in Marin, having been on the board of the Marin Community Clinics and Marin Community Foundation and other things. So I'm leaning more that way just because I know her breadth of her knowledge about the health and human services is pretty expansive.
I would have no problem
Okay.
with Grace.
Any other thoughts, Councilmember Andre?
Yeah, reiterating what everyone has said, we have 4 highly qualified candidates who I think all would do fantastic job. Yeah, my first inclination as I was thinking through all this was also Barry Fegan. I thought that he had a really nice demeanor. I felt that he would do a good job reaching out to the public, trying to get ideas, and would do a good job representing Larkspur on the commission. Felt like he was very collaborative, and would look for ways to, reach consensus on policies that would make an impact on the community. To me, he had a nice balance where he had done a lot of volunteering work that is relevant, but I see this also as an opportunity to appoint someone to commissions, so that we don't. I saw that Grace was also on, the Marin Community Foundation and several others, and I think it's a great opportunity for me. When I look at this, I thought it would be good just to get someone new into the mix, and so that's why I leaned towards Barry. Was that I thought this is a good opportunity to give him an opportunity to sit on a commission. I felt like Grace was already very involved, and she obviously she's highly qualified. She has a great resume. But I felt like Barry was also highly qualified, but he probably had lesser, or he didn't have as many appointed roles. And I thought that this would be a good opportunity for him. So my vote is for Barry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it even more confusing. I have to also put in a plug for Ann Morrison. I mean, not just that we love her, but she's done an outstanding job on the library. And I'll just say one of the things that, remember, we went through this cycle before and didn't come up with a candidate. And then, for years, the counties actually kind of slapped our wrists and said, we need someone who will attend. So for someone to really have incredible people skills and outreach, and then, not only was and former mayor, but I think most importantly was the Whistle Stop Board and doing hospice right now. So, being in the mix, really putting, herself on some of the most critical aging issues is one thing. But I am going to go back to thinking that, the connections to the community clinics and the South Alicio for the housing and sort of the depth of experience. It's good to bring in someone new, but I made a personal commitment to really push the aging issue forward this year. I want to work with the mayor and get us, age designated. And so I'm really looking for someone who's going to be able to, collect resources and connect people to push some really important and difficult issues forward. So I'm leaning a little bit more towards Grace right now.
Okay, Sarah.
This is really tough for me. I also actually had thought Barry seemed like a great candidate, but I don't know the depth. And I also thought Ann Morrison has great connections at the county level, understands the aging population. As did I get that same impression from Barry. So, I don't know Grace as well. I didn't know about all her involvement. So for me, it's really, I feel terribly neutral, honestly. I do. I feel that there's really great
Always hard
candidates.
to do this.
Yeah. And I wish that I knew more about everybody,
Yeah.
that I had more insight. It seems that you all have a much deeper knowledge of who's involved in what committees at what level. But I also did like Barry's background and, the fact that he created the program with the fire department and, was a professor at UC Irvine. So I really don't feel like I have a strong opinion about any other than that they're all great candidates.
So Yeah, it is always hard for us to do when we hit these positions because we don't want to be disrespectful to any of our community members. So it sounds like I'm hearing Barry seems to be the person that seems to resonate the most with the majority of the council members. So I would put forward that we ask Barry Fegan if he'd be interested in representing us on the Aging Commission. Are we okay with that?
I would second that recommendation.
Okay, so we'll need to vote on that. We don't, I guess that's just guidance, or do we need to vote on that one?
Ultimately, the appointment is by the mayor.
Yes.
But if you would like to ask for a vote on it, that is your
No,
prerogative.
it's fine. I mean, I think we all had a very good conversation about it. Everybody expressed their opinion. And we are all I believe in agreement that we had some fantastic candidates.
Yeah.
And we
Great.
would really respect all of them and very much hope that they will continue to participate. And we will find other ways in which we can have you participate. But it sounded like Mr. Fegan was the one who the majority of the council members was interested in having represent us. So
Yeah.
I would pleased to welcome him and really look forward to having him be actively involved in that committee so that we can learn a lot and bring more resources, ideas, and support to our aging community. So,
Comment?
yes, sir.
I just want to throw out there that I know we didn't talk about Lindsay very much. She was unbelievably qualified, I
Yeah.
think, because you were supposed to be over 60. That was one of the issues. But if Lindsay is listening, please stay involved because there are plenty other ways for you to be involved in the community on different boards and commissions. So,
Yeah. And in one of the outreaches that Sarah and I discussed about keeping continuity with members of the public who have applied for these things was I actually wrote her not an email, but a handwritten letter to thank her for that and to suggest that too. And I would love that we could figure out as we're doing this year of sort of formalizing policies and procedures, which is sort of my bailiwick now, those kind of ways in which us as council members can honor and acknowledge the community who reaches out to us with a short note. So.
and I'm sorry, can we also ask staff to just keep some type of ongoing list of people who apply so that, in the future, we know we can call on people that we have people who are interested.
Allison's awesome at keeping
Okay.
lists.
Thank you.
Might be listening. They're all welcome to come to the climate forum too.
Yes. That's
Please
right. We have a
come.
brand new committee, the Climate Forum. So that's going to be Action Committee. That'll be great.
Climate Action Forum.
Oh, geez, I got to get my acronyms
CAF.
worked out.
CAF.
Yeah.
It's not a climate
Oh.
thinking forum, it's
Yeah.
action.
No, we need to make
CAF.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks. And at this point, we are adjourned.
Thank you.